Hello, this is Kieran from Team System Squad, and today is our Sprint 4 review. The highlights of the sprint review will feature demonstrating the functionality of our minimal viable product, discussing user stories committed by each team member, and analyzing our progress for this sprint. Shown here are the tasks that were created during our sprint planning meeting. The various colors show the team members who have committed to each task. The primary focus for this sprint was the take attendance and view attendance use cases. Although we have been working on the take attendance and view attendance use case for the last couple of sprints, the primary focus was to improve and complete all of the acceptance criteria from these use cases before we move on to import and export roster. All of the use cases for take attendance have been complete, which are being shown here on the right. But for view attendance, the team is still working on understanding the reporting functionalities. View students above X number of absences is still a to-do task. Import roster is also a to-do task. And along with that, view report of total absences per student for a class is in progress as of right now, and it will not be complete until the next sprint, and view absences per student will not be complete until the next sprint as well. Currently, our team is working on understanding what we can do to understand this specific use case and how to improve that.
All right, so we made some big non-functional progress in this sprint, mainly because Dustin had showed me this plugin that solves a major problem with Salesforce and a major problem for the professor. Initially, we were having the situation where a professor would have to create a new attendance record every single time that a new day, every single time they had a professor had to take attendance, but now it's not the case anymore. So currently, let me get back to that in a second. But first, before I show that cool nifty trick that this plugin is allowed, we now have a change schema because based off of the plugin, it required all of these certain constraints to the model. So now we have a new entity called session, and that is going to be a big deal because if we go and if we decide to create a new session, a session is essentially a specific day for the class. So as you can see right now, I've been creating multiple to just make sure that it works. Unfortunately, we did not change the we did not have a validation for that, so that's another non-functional thing to make sure you can't have two sessions of the same class on the same day. But just for the sake of learning this, we create a systems. There's currently 3 students, I believe, in the systems course. And then I'm just going to create a new session date. And then when we create it, now a lot of the plugin added a lot of these unnecessary fields that we're not going to be using, and unfortunately a lot of them you can't delete. So this is going to be obviously not shown when on the website specifically on the community. But if I save it, then automatically the session creates the attendances. Oh, so I'm sorry, there were 2 students that were in this. So that's the really nifty part about this plugin, is that now when a professor wants to create a new session, they can automatically just go to all of their list of students that are already registered, enrolled in the course, because all the attendances are automatically created. And then we'll have an easy way, hopefully, to just click, present or absent and all that stuff. So that's the cool part that we've been able to accomplish this week. It took a little while to understand how the plugin works and everything, but now I got that going. So that's the huge non-functional use case that we were able to help. But now, take attendance has now been completely finished, but in terms of view attendance, it seems that we now have to create reports, and for some reason I've been trying to work on this matrix format where, okay, I have the program name, and now I have the students, or I did have the students, and now they're gone. But for some reason, the top part here, oh, I tried to put it over there, that's why. So it's kind of wonky right now, and we're gonna meet now that we know that we're a little bit behind schedule on trying to satisfy all of VU attendance. We're definitely going to meet this Monday and completely figure out everything in order to satisfy all of VU attendance. The only thing we definitely know, VU absences per student is very easy. That's a roll-up summary. So we have that. We had that implemented in the previous data model. I don't think it's implemented in the current one, but we know how to do it now. So that'll be that'll be a quick fix. But these three pieces we still need to figure out. And also for export roster, there's already a built-in button to export a report. So that's going to be automatically done pretty quickly, but we'll just make sure that's in the community. And then import roster is going to be something we're also going to accomplish next sprint. And that's about it for this sprint that we've been able to accomplish on Salesforce.
Okay, so as Emil says earlier, and for this deliverable, we mainly focus on our non-functional use case, which is the plugins that Dustin has told us. And I think we still have problem with view attendance. Like if you click on the students, and it will shows up the total absence by the date and the totals. In the report, and Emil also said that we couldn't figure out how to show the total attendance absence by that student. So I was thinking we can add a fields, use the row summary to add up to calculate the total absence by each student. And also, we also have a problem with the schemas that Salesforce provide. In the community builder, if you click on the enrollments, we only show on the related tab, there's no related list, but I think it's supposed to show the difference attendance record for that enrollments. But we can find it under students tab. If we click on the students, click on the related, it has enrollment at attendance. But there is a problem since we have that data right now. So we have only this team only enroll in one class. If we enroll in multiple class and all the attendance, I think it will mess up because it doesn't show like the programs then. So I was thinking if we could make attendance related to the enrollments, which would be easier. Things like if you enroll in different class, you will have different enrollment ID. It will be like unique one-to-one ID. And I think that's it for this deliverable.
Hi, this is Sona from System Squad, and I will be reviewing my tasks for Sprint 8 of our attendance application. First, I'll be going over acceptance criteria, then the domain class diagram, and finally the user comments. The acceptance criteria for this sprint are the same as the last sprint. We are still working with the take attendance and view attendance use cases. Essentially, for take attendance, the instructor should be able to select a date from the calendar, mark a student as present, absent, or excused, add an excused note for a student, and be able to go back and select a date and modify the attendance for a specific student. For view attendance, the instructor should be able to see a variety of reports, including students with a number of absences that exceed the maximum amount, and etc. Moving on to the domain class diagram, we made a lot of major changes to the diagram because we introduced a new plugin to our Salesforce application called the Attendance Tracker. I've included a previous domain class diagram to show the original. I included the schema next, and finally the final domain class diagram after our updates from the sprint. So this is what our previous domain class diagram looks like. We have student, course instructor, enrollment, and attendance record. And moving on, our updated schema looks like this. The attendance tracker plugin has some automatic classes that arise, and some of these classes have automatic fields that we are not able to delete or change. And essentially the main the main differences are the names of the classes and the addition of the session object. So the program class represents the class or the course. The contact class represents the student, and the session class serves as the date of the class. So this is a little bit confusing because the date is already included in the attendance class, and it's also an attribute over here. And we're still working out the minutia of that change, but essentially this session serves to automatically update the student's association with the attendance and list it out for each day. And this is just something that comes with the plugin. So for the program, there are also a lot of extra fields that we don't need, also for attendance. And the enrollment class has kind of been taken over by the session class. So for next sprint, we need to do some clarification with this model. But I went ahead and updated the domain class diagram with some of the new fields that are pertinent to the attendance application, and changed the names of the classes as well. So contact represents student, program represents course. We still have the enrollment class, and then we have the session, but the attributes are the same for session and attendance, and this is something that's going to be changed in our later sprint. Finally, for the user comments, the student said, I successfully selected a student's attendance without having to click on each individual student first. It was helpful to see the attendance listed by students afterwards. This is thanks to the session class. The enrollment ID and session ID are confusing, but the names and the dates are listed, so I disregarded the IDs. However, I was not able to view the reports, and it was hard to find where I could find the report I wanted. So this tells me that we still need to work on our view attendance use case, and we need to work on making sure that we select what the user can see, so that they're not confusing session IDs with enrollment IDs. And this is something that we're going to work on for the next sprint.
I'm Alicia, one of the business analysts for this group for the project. This week, we continued working on taking attendance and viewing attendance and focusing more on kind of improving those processes from the last deliverable. And this kind of included modifying our application on Salesforce to make it easier for the professor to actually be able to take attendance and view attendance in kind of in a more efficient manner. Currently, these use cases are being improved upon, and so we are trying to make it so that we're more close to being done, so that in the upcoming sprints we can focus more on the other must-have use cases, which include export roster and import roster, and we will be able to focus on making those efficient after we're done with take attendance and view attendance, which our web developers, Emil and Lee, are working on right now. And so overall, the process for the use cases is coming along efficiently, and we have been able to get a better grasp on modeling and Salesforce.